Hello, welcome back to M is for Meeple. My name's Mitch.
And I'm Morgan, and today we're going to talk about Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition. Sentinels of the Multiverse was created by Christopher Bedell and Adam Ribotero. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it was published by Greater Than Games. Sentinels of the Multiverse is a cooperative card game where each player controls a different hero, and they have to work together using their powers and abilities to defeat the villain and save the world. Sentinels of the Multiverse was first introduced in 2011, and it quickly became a very popular comic book card game. This definitive edition adds stronger heroes, better environments, and kind of reworks some of the mechanics.
Yeah, if you've played the previous edition, heroes like Tempest now have a bunch of new cards, and Legacy works a little bit differently. We haven't played too many of the heroes out of the 11 or 12?
12 heroes.
Out of the 12 heroes, but it changes quite a bit. In Sentinels of the Multiverse, it starts with the villain's turn, and the villain's turn has 3 phases: a start phase, play phase, and end phase. In the start phase, you just resolve anything on the card that says start phase. Play phase, you reveal the top card from the villain deck and do any effects that it has. And then end phase, you resolve anything in the end phase. After the villain concludes their turn, it is now the hero's turn, and the hero's turns are similar to the villain's, but they have a start phase, which you resolve any start phase effects. Then you can play a card from your hand, activate a power on any card in your play area, draw 1 card, and then trigger enter your end phase. After all the heroes have taken their turn, then it goes to the environments phase, and the environment phase plays just like everyone else's. It has a start phase where you resolve any start phase effects, play phase where you reveal the top card of the environment, and then end phase where you just resolve any end phase effects. So Sentinels of the Multiverse, the definitive edition, has 12 heroes, and it's not this. It has different starting heroes from the 2011 edition, right? Yep. They changed it up. So out of the 12 heroes, you're getting Legacy, who is a Superman-esque person.
Superman, Captain America kind of
Yeah,
hero.
like an all-American, just bulletproof flying guy.
Yep. And then you have the Wraith. The Wraith is kind of like a stealthy hero.
Oh, she's like a ninja.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, like stealthy ninja.
She's got different equipments and ninja stars and blades. Then you have Bunker, who is a mechanical tank who has different modes that he goes into.
Tachyon is like a female speedster, so very similar to the Flash.
Yeah, Tachyon's great.
Yeah, she's very, very cool to play with.
You have Absolute Zero, who is in a temperature suit, who deals himself cold damage and fire damage. I didn't play him too much, but Dave played him a lot, and he was dealing out a lot of damage with Absolute Zero.
Then you have Unity. Oh, Unity is really cool because she controls all of these mechanical golems. So she does more damage based on how many golems are in play, and then they all combo off of each other. And she's a really cool character.
All right, then you have Arjun Adapt, who is my favorite character and my least favorite because he's a bard who just sings and powers up other people. He's strictly support.
He was the most complicated hero you could play,
he's the most
right?
complicated because you gotta match up rhymes and rhythms and harmonies and everything like that to make a good song to boost your teammates.
Yeah, the game comes with a complexity chart to help you choose a hero, and Arjun Adapt is a 10 complexity.
Yeah.
And then you have the Fanatic, that's kind of like a Valkyrie angelic hero. She does way more damage when she has lower health. She's pretty cool to play with.
She's a little tricky to balance, getting her below the 10 hit points to do a lot of damage, but once you find that sweet spot, you can dish out a lot of damage. It's nice. Okay, then you have Captain Cosmic, who is Iron Man mixed with Captain Marvel, and he puts out constructs either in front of himself or other people to help them take less damage, deal more damage, or it's a mix of things that he can do. He's your utility hero.
Okay, and then you have Ra. Ra is really cool. He's an Egyptian god hero that has fire powers, and he does double damage, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We haven't played with him, but he's definitely on my list of heroes to try next.
He also seems like the easiest to play.
Yeah,
so
very low complexity for him.
Right. So if for a first-time player, I'd recommend using Raw, even though none of us did.
No.
All right, then you have Tempest, who is kind of like he's an Atlantean sea creature from Aquaman, essentially, to where he's wielding lightning magic and controlling the weather and stringing along different weather effects to slowly build up his cards, to where the more weather effects he has that's ongoing, the stronger his cards get. So he's really cool, too.
And then you have Haka, who's kind of like your classic tank, damage dealer, is able to blunt a lot of the damage from the rest of the heroes. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like a tribal character, of a brawny character. So we didn't play with Haka, so we don't know too much about him. But basically, I envision him kind of just like a Hulk type character.
Yeah,
like all martial, all fists.
I wanted to quickly mention that all the heroes have on their base card a singular power that you can use, or you can use their variant card, which is like their first appearance in a comic, which has a different power, which will slightly change how you play that character in their deck. And not only do the heroes have variants, the villains also have variants, to where I think there's 4 villains that have variant cards that change how they play, and some of the villain cards even have an ability, once you lower their health all the way down to 0, you flip the card over, and now you're fighting the same villain, but with a slightly different mechanic. Alright, so the 6 villains that are in the Definitive Edition are Baron Blade, Citizen Dawn, Grand Warlord Voss, Omnitron, the Matriarch, and Ashka Buddha, if I'm pronouncing that right. And they also have variant sides. Not only are you fighting the villains, you're fighting them in a specific environment. The environments that are included inside the Definitive Edition are Megalopolis, Freedom Tower, Insula Primalis, Magmaria, the Ruins of Atlantis, Wagner Mars Base.
So now that you know a little bit about how to play Sentinels of the Multiverse, and if you are already familiar with it, what is different about the Definitive Edition, we would like to talk about why we enjoy it and some things we didn't enjoy. Mitch, do you want to go first?
I really like the art behind it. The fact that it's not Marvel or DC or one of the other major superhero comics. I like that they've created their own comic books for this and their own stories, because while not having them attached to specific things, you can open up the world a little bit better, to where you're not having Daredevil fight Ultron or something like that, to where it's like you don't know where these superheroes fit into the universe, to where it leaves it open, and I really like that about the game. Alright, another thing I really liked about it was the variety of powers that you get to choose from. The 12 different heroes all play really differently, and it was fantastic having the option to go through each of their decks and just look at the variety of different play styles that you can have. It was fantastic. And the art's amazing. I don't know if I said the art's amazing. I really liked it, because it reminds me a lot of an MMO called City of Heroes, which was a fantastic superhero MMO back in the day. And you can't beat it. It's brought back nostalgia from playing that game. It's like you pulled that game straight into a board game.
All right, what was one thing you didn't like about the game, or a critique?
The one thing I didn't like about it would be everything that you got to keep track of with the different cards. With the Definitive Edition, they did add tokens in to help keep track of, this card does +1 extra damage to all damage. This card does -1 damage to all damage. So they did add tokens to help you keep track of it, but it still was very tedious to, at least for our first couple times of playing, trying to follow everything as to what everyone's powers were doing, especially when everyone was managing their own cards, to where not everyone was using the tokens at first, to where it's we had one of our players who's like, oh yeah, that does a +1, but we didn't have the +1 token in front of us.
Yeah,
so
I got a little tricky to keep track of everything.
Yeah, so what didn't you like about the game?
The one thing I didn't like about the game is it's kind of hard to, because these are new characters, and they're not like DC or Marvel, it was a little difficult to find synergy between the characters the villain.
Yeah.
Because the one game that we played, we almost lost because the villain we were fighting, I don't remember, was it Baron Blade?
Baron Blade, yeah.
Yeah, he sends out a whole bunch of minions, and one of them has like a shield, and you can't damage him until you get rid of the shield. Well, most of us were playing like support characters or characters that like did minimal damage or took a couple turns to get cards out on the board before they really ramped up their damage dealing. So we were taking a lot of hits because all of his minions were attacking us each turn. It was like 6 or 7 cards that we were getting hit with every turn.
Yeah, it was rough.
And then we were like, oh shoot, like we probably should have picked different heroes and this would have been a lot easier, but we just didn't know. We ended up winning, but I feel like that can be a little tricky, just finding heroes that work well together. But that's part of the fun too, is just trying to figure out like a good solid team between the heroes.
So one of the same reasons that why I liked it was because like you didn't know how the heroes worked. Was the reason why you didn't like it?
Well, I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like, it's cool that all of the characters are so different, but at the same time, you don't know how well they work together, and I feel like that can be a disadvantage. But it is fun figuring that out.
Right.
Like, oh, these two characters pair really well together, you know, or maybe we shouldn't have those two characters play together next time. But that's part of the fun, is just trying out all the different characters. Because they're new and exciting and not something we've seen 1,000 times before.
Yeah, so you're saying like if it was a Marvel game and it was Spider-Man and like you could play Spider-Man and like Gwen and Miles Morales, you know how all those characters should work
right, exactly.
together. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Right, and because this is new,
yeah,
like,
since you don't know what they do, you don't know if a character. Okay, I get it.
Right, you don't know if this character is more like offensive or more defensive or a buff character until you actually get in there and start playing with them to see how they synergize. Okay, and then another thing I didn't like, I'll have to agree with you with it, where it was a little tricky keeping track of all of the bonuses, especially again with Baron Blade, when you had like 6 minions out, and this one did +2 damage, this one did minus damage coming in. And the tokens, they do help, but it can get a little confusing, especially when your own heroes have bonuses of their own. It's a lot of, not a terrible amount of math, but it can get tricky when you're fighting a lot of different things.
It's always just +1 or -1, or a lot of times it's +1 or -1, but yeah.
Sometimes they cancel out, and then it's just a little confusing.
Right.
But the tokens definitely help. Like, I can't imagine playing it without the tokens. That would be crazy, trying to figure out all the different bonuses and like how much damage you're doing.
Like our first time we played.
Yeah, no, we totally did not use the tokens the first time, and it's very tricky.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what did you like about the game?
Like you, I really enjoyed the comic book art style. The cards are beautiful. I really want to get the foil version of the hero cards, because I think that would just be really fun and make the game a little bit better.
How do you get the foil version of the cards?
You can order them right from Greater Than Games website.
Oh, okay. I thought they were part of like a Kickstarter.
Nope, you can order all the hero cards for the Definitive Edition right from their website. But I like the cards because all of the different power cards that the heroes have, they are in like comic book style. So they have like little speech bubbles, and it's kind of like you're reading a comic as you're playing the character, and that's really cool. And the villain is the same way. They all have speech bubbles, and you're kind of getting like a snapshot into like this hero's life as you're playing them. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, that each villain has a nemesis for a hero, and that's represented on their
hero card.
On their hero card, yeah, and the villain card. They'll share the same symbol or logo, I guess. And then they each do +1 damage to each other, which is crazy.
Another thing I really like about the game is the little health dials that each hero has. It's really satisfying to it's kind of like if you're familiar with Dice Throne, the same kind of counter that you have in that game, where you spin the dial to indicate your health points. They look really cool. Again, they're very much comic book art style, and it adds a fun little touch to the game.
The villain's got a massive health counter because they could have hundreds of hit points, and you only have a double-digit health counter because you can only have, I think, the highest player has 32 hit points maybe. Those dials are nice. That was a good one.
Yeah, they are really nice. Okay, so another thing we wanted to mention is that Greater Than Games is currently running a Kickstarter for an expansion to this game called Rook City Renegades. So it's going to have all new heroes, new villains, new environments, and it's going to be a definitive edition as well. So that is currently going through the end of March. So through that Kickstarter, you can not only pick up the expansion, but you can also pick up the Definitive Edition, in addition to the foil cards that we talked about for the heroes and villains for both versions. I know we backed it because we were very excited to get more content for this game. You can currently order the Definitive Edition through Greater Than Games website. I know when I checked my friendly local gaming store, it is available for pre-order, but not until September. So we ordered it right from the publisher. So if that's something you're interested in, you don't want to wait, definitely order it right through them. Or if you're interested in just getting it all at the same time, the Kickstarter is going on until the end of the month. All right, well, that is all we have for you guys today. This is just our overview of Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition. Let us know if you're interested in this game down in the comments. If you have played Sentinels of the Multiverse, let us know what hero you like or what heroes you're looking forward to being included in the new expansion, or hope that will get added in the future.
If you want to get in the board game hobby or want to pick up this game, Google friendly local gaming store near me. And for us, that is Recess in North Olmsted,
Ohio. But thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Mitch.
And this is M is for Meeple.